I've been on Zepbound for a little over 2 years, and I wanted to take some time to let you know how that experience has been for me. First of all, my name is Taisha. I am 5'7". I'm 48 years old, perimenopausal, mother of 5. My starting weight on this medication, Zepbound, was 183 pounds, and I've currently been maintaining at 130, which is comfortable for me. My initial goal weight was 135 pounds, and I came up with that because I went based off of my height, but it was a range. I wanted to know what the healthy range was for my height, and the middle was 135, so that's what I picked. And I really didn't think that I was gonna get there, but I did. And I just want you to know that if you have this magic goal weight, and you think that when you get to that weight, you're gonna feel a certain way, it might not it might not happen. Like, I thought that I was gonna magically love my body, and I didn't. Now what I had to focus on and lean into was how I felt, and I felt fantastic. I was able to do things that I wasn't able to do before, like getting in and out of the car easily, going up a flight of stairs without feeling winded. I was constantly using my inhaler, being able to do things with my children, with my husband, my granddaughter, and not feel out of breath, being able to get down on the floor and do things with her. Like, that's life changing. For me, the food noise is something that went back to when I was a little girl. I remember always thinking about food and being excited and wanting to eat. And the binging is what ended up being an issue. As I got older, I guess there was just a point in my mid-30s where, okay, I have these poor habits and now it's affecting my health. And um, I just didn't want to live like that anymore. So for a short time in 2023, I was on Wegovy and I made no lifestyle changes. I didn't do anything differently. I leaned into not having an appetite. And then when I could eat, I wasn't making healthy choices. So when I came off of the medication, I gained a significant amount of weight back in a relatively small amount of time because I went right into binging and the food noise came back with a vengeance. I was fortunate enough to have a doctor that looked at the full picture, looked at my comorbidities, and prescribed the medication. And then TRICARE, that's who I have my insurance with, they covered it. So I wanted to make the most of this and do things, in my mind, the right way. So the right way is different for everybody. For me, I thought it would be beneficial to cut out ultra processed foods. And the reasoning behind that is if I'm on a medication that is supposed to help me control that, it would be counterproductive to eat foods that are designed to make you want more and more and more. 2 weeks in, I decided, okay, I want to start strength training. And the first program I did was by Kira Mitlow. Her channel used to be called Strong Sisters United, and it was called the Body Recomp 2.0 series. Whatever that first Monday in March was in 2024, that's when I started that program. And I also the next day created an Instagram and I used it as a food and exercise diary. So if you're interested in the things that I was eating and the movement, that's all there. And the first day, it kicked my butt. I remember being out of breath and having to take, a lot of breaks, but I kept going and I came back the next day and the next day. And then it started to just become normal for me. And the only day I missed, and this was in 2024, was the day of the eclipse. And I had just made a decision to not do it that day. The next day, I just jumped back into it, where in the past, missing one day would have completely derailed me. I was never known to be the queen of consistency, but it was just different this time. And it was easy for me to be consistent. I had these systems in place, but I actually enjoyed it and looked forward to doing it every day. I looked forward to getting a little bit stronger or, having more endurance, and my body changing. So it took me about 26 weeks to get from 183 to 135 and DEXA scan. So I had a DEXA scan in January of 2024 and another one late March of 2024, which was about a little over a month after I started on Zepbound, and I had lost a significant amount of muscle. So I was excited that I was down 18.8 pounds in 4 weeks, but a lot of that was muscle. So when I approached tracking calories, it wasn't about being restrictive, but making sure that I was getting enough. And that ended up becoming just a normal thing for me. So I was taking pictures of all of my meals because, again, for Instagram, it was a food and exercise diary. And I was keeping track of all of my calories and lose it. But it was effortless for me at that time. Now, I eventually got to a point where it started to feel like a chore, and that's when a lot of other personal things was going on for me. So I didn't have that same like drive and desire to strength train. And then I kind of feel like I kept setting these different goals, and I got to a point where I'm like, what am I doing? And that's how I felt. So I stopped doing so much. So I stopped strength training. Then I moved into walking regularly. And then I didn't feel like doing that anymore. So the scale started to go up a little bit. And I had weighed myself when I was at 135. So I was like, I need to readjust because I'm eating the same amount of calories that I was eating when I was strength training regularly and walking regularly. So I reduced them just a little bit, nothing crazy. And I've kind of just been maintaining here at 130 pounds. So I weigh myself weekly. I'm not doing, I hadn't done daily in quite some time. And there have been periods of time where I would just weigh myself if I was doing an update. And then when I got to maintenance, I didn't really want to continue to focus on the weight because I really didn't have much to report in that regard, right? So I wasn't weighing myself. I did weigh myself this morning and I'm 130.0 pounds. So sometimes it's 130.0, 130.4, 130.8, but I seem to stay in that 130-pound range. Um, and I'm fine with that. I focus more on how I feel and I still feel good. Now, the medication for me is just as effective as it was in the beginning. I haven't noticed and all throughout this time, I haven't noticed oh, when I get to day 4 or 5, food noise, none of that has happened. And I do know that that's an experience that some people have, but I'm sharing this with you just so you know that it's not something that everyone has to have. All of our experiences are going to be different. I just recently started going back to the Y and I'm doing their e-gym. So I know that I will need to increase my calories because I want to be strong, right? As we age, it's not like we're just naturally getting stronger. So I don't want to lose any muscle. Um, I feel like the key for my visceral fat going down was walking. And the last time I had a DEXA scan was in January, and my visceral fat was down to 0.43. So even when I was 125 pounds, my visceral fat was still not 0.43. So I'm just saying that walking don't underestimate it, okay? Let's see. The programs I did programs with Kira Mitlow and Lift with C. Something you'll hear a lot of people talk about is the middle, right? Feeling, getting to a point where you just feel like blah. The blah feelings I've had weren't because I was struggling to lose weight or struggling with, um, what do they call them, stalls or anything like that. I feel like for the most part, I had a downward trend. There were a few times where weight went up a little bit, but I still continued. So that's another thing. When you're tracking everything, and if you're anti-tracking, I would recommend just give it a couple of weeks and just see. It's just about data. I feel like the fact that I was tracking, I didn't get stressed out about the scale movement because I just stayed consistent. So because I knew what I was eating, because I knew the movements, None of that stuff changed. I didn't freak out when there was an increase or a decrease. Now, there was a period of time in 2025, and this is when I was still going through the telehealth provider, that he wanted me to titrate down to 2.5 just to see how that would go. Now, because I was diligently tracking my calories and movement, I know that the weight that I gained was just from the dose being adjusted. And I believe it was either 11.8 or 14.8 pounds that I gained in a relatively small amount of time, maybe 9 days, and I didn't make any changes. So, I went back up to the 5 and that just tapered back off. So for me, 5 is an effective dose. And if I hadn't have been tracking everything so diligently, I probably would have tried changing all these things around and I didn't need to. It really was just the dose. Now, just because that was my experience, that doesn't mean that I think everyone else's experience is going to be like that. But I challenge you just for a little while. Maybe track what you're doing and then you'll know. You know what I mean? So if you need to make a change for whatever reason, you'll know what to adjust instead of trying to adjust a lot of things and not even needing to. So recently, we got our YMCA membership back, and I'm going to be going through the e-gym. So I know at some point I will have to increase my calories. I don't want to lose any strength, and I haven't been strength training like I was. So I know that I've lost some of that, and I want to build that back up. As far as fear, like the fear of eating certain foods, a lot of that went away when I went on a cruise last year, and it was in late June. And I had different desserts, and I would have my meal, then I would have a snack, and I'd be okay. And that let me know, like, okay, I can do things in moderation. Now, when I came back, I still didn't go into like eating a lot of ultra processed junk foods. That's just not something that I have the desire to do. And it's not that I will never, ever eat those things. Things have been working for me and I want them to continue to work. My granddaughter, her first birthday was on Sunday. We went to her party. My daughter made this vegan cake and it's probably the best cake I've ever tasted in my life. And she had cut a nice size slice for me and I'm eating it. Well, this is really good, but I'm satisfied. So what my husband did is he came and he got the plate because he was like, "You okay?" And I was like, "Man, this is really good, but I know I should probably stop because I'm not uncomfortable." So he took the plate and he was like, "You know what? We don't have to clean our plates." And I was like, "Yeah, let me figure it out." But he took it and I'm glad he did because I may have continued. We'll never know. So when you have someone in your life that is making you aware, they're just trying to help you. At least I know with him, he has my best interests at heart and he has seen these struggles throughout the years of me, you know, binge eating and then that guilt that comes afterwards. I don't want to feel that anymore. I don't want to eat to the point where I feel, stuffed or like I just can't go. You know what I mean? Like you got to lay down, you got to unbutton your clothes. Like I don't want to do any of that anymore. Now, as far as my plans, I'm going to continue to stay on this medication. I'm on 5 milligrams. My plan is to continue taking it weekly because that's what works for me. I'm not losing weight. I don't have any side effects. I'm maintaining. So as far as I'm concerned, I have this system in place. So I want to continue to keep doing that. Now I know I have seen different comments, not necessarily in my comment section, but just in other places on the internet where people are like, you don't know what these meds are going to do. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know what things are going to be like 10 years from now. But I know if I had continued the way that I was going before in that direction, I may not have been here in 10 years. My dad died at 44. So I've already outlived him. So I'm doing okay. I think getting systems in place and focusing more on how you feel and building this healthy relationship with food and your body, I think that'll be really helpful. And just know that you can have a goal weight, but you wanna plan for beyond that, like how you're gonna maintain. And I think that, at least for me in the past, losing weight, sometimes it was an issue, but it would be like maintaining. So on times where I was like really extreme and got to a certain weight, once I got there, that was it. I went back into what I was doing before, which is absolutely, silly, but that's what my life was like. So it feels good. If I had to go back and do something over, I can't think of anything that I would have done differently. I think that everything that happened in the beginning needed to happen. I think I needed to have, you know, that DEXA scan that showed I lost a good amount of muscle. That needed to happen to make me comfortable with tracking, and not tracking from a point of restriction, but tracking with, okay, I want to make sure that I'm getting enough. I want to make sure that I'm getting, what my body needs to sustain what I'm doing. As a vegan, I'm getting, enough protein. I'm getting what I need. My blood work is the best it's been in my adult life because of my poor lifestyle and poor diet choices before. So I'm doing well. I plan to stay on it. I know there are people that want to come off. And if you want to come off, do what works for you. But I'm a lifer and it's working for me. So I'm just going to finish this by saying we can share our journeys, but we should never compare them. Bye.